Hi, my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon Croucher, CEO of Delight Cafe. We are honored today to have a really amazing guest. So his name is Callen. His life started not like your typical life. He had a single mother, lived in a trailer park in Northern Ontario, Canada. If you don't know how cold that is, let me give you a quick clue. Living in a house on wheels in negative 20-degree weather, hashtag oh my God, creates some challenges. Like their mom crawling under the trailer with a propane torch, thawing out the water line so they can actually have running water. Fast forward to a career and his first passion of strength and conditioning. Somehow, this is his words, I've met him now for about 5 minutes in the background, somehow doesn't fit his energy. He is amazing. So somehow winning 3 gold medals as a strength and conditioning coach for Canada, as well as multiple gold medals as a member of the coach for the Canadian Special Olympics powerlifting team. So everybody that watches the show, right off the bat, you know he's going to be one of my best friends just for that. Next is he had, in the middle of it all, he started 3 companies. 1 failed. 1 is great. And most recently, it's his fastest growing tech company operating in 3 different countries. How Callen's even got into tech is ridiculous considering, you ready for this? This is my favorite part of his whole bio. He did not even own a cell phone until 2010. During all of Callen started a family, 4 kids, the best wife in the world, and a dog. His youngest child was born with macro and micro lymphatic malformation, which landed her and his wife in the hospital fighting for their lives for 8 weeks. But in all, they are happy, healthy, and the inspiration of his life. This as an experience has helped shape the character and love for his life. You see me stutter over my words and all that already this morning. It's been a long day. Guys, let's dive into this and have a wonderful experience. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Callen. Callen, how are you, my friend?
I am very good. Thanks very much for the introduction. That was wonderful.
Oh, I just took your words and then made it where I've screwed them up.
It gets me nervous to hear it. I don't know why. I always get nervous when I hear it all. I'm like, oh my God, I got to live up to something.
Oh gosh. See, well, here's the first thing. You right off the bat have I got to ask a question. How do you go till 2010 not having any type of thing? You're about my age, a little younger, I'd assume. But you have to have a pager back in the day. You had to have a flip cell phone back in the day. You had none of this?
None of it. And it was more just stubbornness to kind of prove a point all the time. You know, people you need a phone. I'm like, why? Can I borrow your phone? And they'd be like, yeah, sure. It was really just I was just stubborn. I just was I'm not going to do it. Everyone's doing it. And I was just I'm not going to do it. And then, I ended up doing it. And how could you not? And now, what a tool. Oh my God, it's turned into a piece of my life that just I leveraged so much, I leveraged so much.
So when was it hard for you to adapt to a cell phone, or was it pretty easy because you already probably had a laptop and stuff?
No, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, those I didn't do Apple because I was like, I'm not doing those guys. Those guys are just going to take over my brain type deal. So I went with a Samsung because I'm like, nobody has those. I mean, it had to be different, right? And so I went with that, and they're pretty smart when they design these things. Like, they make it pretty easy to get navigate around and figure out how to do it. So I mean, no, I adapted pretty quick, and but I still have a lot of controls on my cell phone. Like, it's not something that like it can ring and text, and like, I don't touch it, right? Like, it's not. I go there when I'm ready. I don't let it tell me when it's ready for me. I go there when I'm ready for it. You know.
I love that. I love that. So you have 4 kids. Having that mindset already, do you have rules in place for as your kids grow up? Like, hey, 9 o'clock at night, no internet, and then you have it like set up to turn off?
Yeah, I don't have one of those. My wife and I don't have one of those like router controllers or whatever. We just do it out of sheer discipline. So yeah, but we do take away electronics at night from the kids. Don't let them sleep with them in their room and stuff. And there's some, obviously we have monitors and measures and check throughout the days. So I mean, the last 2 years, it's going to be in March. It's been kind of difficult because they're learning that way, and you know.
Yeah.
But not at night. At night is like, there's no exceptions there. Like, that's just your time when you're not allowed it.
So you have 4 kids, and I read a little bit about your youngest. I want to know a little more about that if you're open, because that seems like, honestly, that would be very difficult. As someone who, I'm an uncle, is how I say it to everybody. I have no kids, but I'm everybody's uncle. I couldn't imagine my wife and my newest baby in the hospital for 8 weeks. How was that for you, and how amazing is it now that, like, does it feel like a blessing every single day that you actually have them here now again?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, it was kind of a crazy thing because we had already had 3 kids, so this was our youngest one, and we were living in the city. All our other kids, we were living in the country, so we never had a chance to have like a midwife. So with our youngest, we decided, you know what, we're gonna have a midwife. We're gonna have her at home, and it was like, I think my wife was around 5 months pregnant, and the midwife came, and my wife was like, you know, I kind of got some pain in my side, and I'm not really sure why. And we always said, well, you know what, like, we should go and get an ultrasound. So I was at work, and my wife went in for an ultrasound. Then she called me. She said, you got to go pick up the kids from school. They're not letting me leave. And so I'm like, okay. So I went to get the kids, and then she was like put on bed rest because they had found like a tumor. Well, they didn't know at the time what it was, but it was all around her airways. So they were like, okay, you know, we got to put you on bed rest. We don't want you moving because, you know, they didn't want something to shift or move. They didn't want the baby to move. So, and then my wife had her with this process called an exit procedure, which is kind of insane. So they actually it's kind of like a C-section where they open her up, but they don't actually cut the embryonic sac. And then they spray like the stuff on it, and then they intubate. So they go through my wife and use her as a life support system, and they intubate the baby while it's still inside my wife in order to secure the airway, and then they pull her out. And so, I mean, there's like 20 doctors in the room. I'm not allowed. There's like 20 doctors because the doctors are like, these exit procedures don't happen very often. They're super rare. So, you know, they wanted to bring all the doctors that were training to be baby doctors. I can't remember the name of that right now, but
That's a good one.
Yeah, that worked, right?
I don't know which one you're going with, you know.
So they brought them. They had as many of them as they could fit, almost, because, you know, you might go almost your whole career without ever seeing it, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted all these young doctors to see it, so that if they ever had to do it at some point, they would be familiar with the process. So, anyways, you know, she comes out and they stabilize her, and then it's kind of a battle for days on end. There it is, pediatrician. And then, you know, they stabilize them, and, you know, the whole process was just kind of like, you know, we were fortunate enough to be able to go through it and kind of like even have the means to be able to deal with the situation. So I think looking at the whole thing, I mean, I just approached it from day one as just, it's a great thing to have another kid, like no matter what the circumstance was, it was just great to have another kid. Every time I've had one, you know, my life has only ever gotten better. So I was just like, okay, well, life's going to get better again, right? So just kind of, that was it.
So you have a lot of accomplishments. You have 3 gold medals, 4 kids, a dog, the best wife. I mean, I just read your bio and I was like, how do I get his life? Like, good Lord, man. And then my favorite part of it is you don't have the number written, but as a strength and conditioning coach for the Special Olympics, you have multiple gold medals as well. Can you explain how this became your passion and then turned it into such an amazing thing? Because I've never met a gold medalist, let alone someone who's won multiple, other than people in the Special Olympics. And so I kind of have. I'm going to go with them first. But, like, how do you do that? And, like, what got you going through all that and gets you excited to keep going?
It's a crazy series of events, to be honest with you. So, I mean, first off, I've always been a strength conditioning coach. I'm not an Olympian. I've never won a medal personally. I've won it through my athletes, right? So first off, that part. And so technically, I'm not sure how responsible I am for the process. I mean, I think I am I do have a relatively heavy weight in it, but you know, I'm with someone.
Was that a pun? Because you're a strength and conditioning coach, you carry the heavy weight.
So honestly, I'll kind of try to make it as. So I'm working. I'm like 20 years old. I'm working for a construction company in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and we were building sewage and water treatment plants, and we're retrofitting them. And I'm working on this tank with this other guy, like one of the entry tanks where the sewage comes in. And we're on this raft and we're putting together these pipes. And I kind of catch out of the corner of my eye and hear like a yell, right? So I'm like, shit, something went wrong, right?
Oh, you got it. You're do not worry about swearing.
Okay, something went wrong, right? So I tap him. I'm like, Paul, something went wrong in the grit room. We got to go. So we get out of the raft. We sprint into the grit room and I'm looking around and I come between these 2 tanks and I find this guy laying on the ground and he's in like this massive pile of blood, and it was the darkest blood I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was crazy. And I kind of go up to him and he's kind of turning blue, like whitish, clammy in his face. And I didn't know what to do. So I just like reached in his mouth and I pulled his jaw down and he kind of gasped for air. So then I screamed to Paul, I'm like, call 911. So Paul calls 911. They come, you know, kind of goes as a whirlwind there. They come, I go home. Ministry of Labor does interviews and stuff. I go home, police. Get a call that night that the guy died, right? I didn't know him, but still the guy died. He's like 27 years old, had 2 little kids. So I lasted like 2 more weeks. And then I just told my boss, I'm like, dude, just lay me off. Like, I'm cut up. I'm just not cut for this. Like, I'm good. I'm out. And my mom, growing up in a trailer park, she'd always like kind of knew being healthy was important for some reason. And so she kind of got me into exercise. So when I asked my boss to lay me off, I just started working out like all day, right? So, and then I was motivated though by not knowing how to save the guy's life. So I took first responder courses and I became certified to teach first aid and CPR. And my plan was to start a company that would go to construction sites and teach it on site in the construction trailers so that the construction companies wouldn't have to send these guys, because I was really upset that I couldn't do anything to save the guy's life. Like, I didn't know what to do, right? Yeah. So I finished the course, and as I'm working out in this gym, it was called Fitness West at the time, downtown Toronto. And there was a guy that was working out there named, and your guests can Google him, Ian Walling, and he was Mr. All Natural of the Universe in 1998. So I'm going to kind of cite my age a little bit. So
29 and holding.
Feeling great. So he's working out, and I'm always chatty. I'm talking, and he's like, you got a great personality. You should be like a trainer. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And he's like I help people work out. And I'm like, well, what do you need to be able to do it? And at this time, he's like, well, you need first aid and CPR. And I just got it, not for that reason. And then I started working for Ian as a trainer, and kind of I just loved it. And it was like years before, like the training industry was really kind of like, I guess, governed and professional, and let alone the strength conditioning industry, it kind of wasn't even there at all. At the Olympic level, it was around that many years ago, but nothing kind of past that. And I just became like an absolute like nut for knowledge, and I just started taking courses and reading books. And I think back now, at that time, the fitness industry was kind of like ready to be influenced by stuff that wasn't like bodybuilding.
Okay.
You know, I think a lot of it was just timing. I've always had pretty good timing just naturally, and by grace of something, you know, thanks, whatever. I've always had pretty good timing. So I think I just was in the right spot at the right time, and I had the right attitude. And I just started taking off and started training people, because I didn't have an education in it. You know, I was reading, you know, books on plyometrics and powerlifting and Olympic lifting and bodybuilding and sprinting and running. And I started combining all this stuff together. And because I thought there's value in all of it. And then next thing you know, my career just kind of exploded. So then I ended up moving north and, you know, coming to Sudbury, Ontario, where I live now. And I teamed up with the university, and I ran a strength conditioning company out of the university. I ended up being the strength conditioning coach for the varsity program at Laurentian University for like a decade. And I ended up being the performance director. So like it just exploded. And I work with like a bunch of professional athletes. One that maybe your audience might know, I've been the strength conditioning coach for Nick Foligno. He was the captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets for a bunch of years. He actually co-founded the tech company with me. So a whole bunch of athletes now. And I think it just kind of, I don't know. It just was a series of events that just got me there, and I loved it. So I always wanted to keep learning too, right? So that helped.
This tech company. So let's dive into this, because I'm curious about it. It's blowing up. It's in 3 different countries. I'm guessing United States, Canada,
yes,
and Mexico. I'm like, just went straight down the line.
Yeah, no. Actually, we're in Canada, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. We actually aren't even in the US yet. So hopefully we will get in there soon. But those are the 3 countries we're in right now. And you know, it really was kind of started with Nick and I. We were just kind of we were working out one day at his place. And his kids will pull up their high chairs and stuff in the mornings along the window, and they look down and watch us work out. And we were like, man, like, isn't it great these kids are growing up in this environment, and you know they're thinking that fitness and health is like on the forefront and it's routine and everything. You're like how could we like do something where we could influence kids like everywhere that way, right? And that was kind of the beginning of it. And then we started. I like doing stuff. I'm a busybody, so I just kind of took off with the idea and started doing research and then realized like, well, what's the one place that pretty much every kid has their first physical experience, and it's phys ed, right? It's gym class.
Yeah.
So we built a product that individualizes the phys ed experience for kids, so that teachers don't have to kind of guess or group kids together in an environment where they might not be successful, because, you know, maybe it's geared towards your physical needs and you might be the best athlete in the class, but you have maybe a bunch of kids that aren't into athletics, but they're taking phys ed anyways. And so our software allows for individualizing experiences, mostly fitness experiences, into a pathway that's just right for that individual kid, so they can succeed at their own pace, right? And the goal is for them to fall in love with exercise, and for teachers to essentially, you know, not have any prep time and be able to kind of spend more time with the kids instead of behind paperwork.
So how do you separate this? I'm going to bring your website in for everybody to see. I'm going to give you a bigger screen and everything, not me, you. Damn computer. You're much better to look at than me. Trust me, the audience thanks me for that. So with this, here's your website. talk to me about this and how you're taking this all-in-one physical education platform and advancing it to the next level, and how can people get involved? Like, what if I'm not exercise savvy? I'm not somebody that likes to go to the gym. I do, but like, what if I am somebody that didn't enjoy physical education class growing up? Can I sign up for this and be able to start learning about things, or is it only kids and physical education teachers?
Yeah, it's just geared for phys ed teachers. So it's just it's just a tool for those particular individuals or professionals in the field to basically equip them with resources and AI that custom builds workouts and trains kids. There's yoga videos for them to give to kids to do, and there's stuff on meditation and what have you. That's basically what it does. And it's kind of like a management system as well. So teachers can upload resources and share them with students. And what's the cool part that's been happening actually is that kids have been like accessing the platform outside of school. So the concept would be like, imagine like your kids like on the weekend, like open up their math textbook and just do work without it being homework, like just go and try to do extra stuff.
Yeah.
So kids are actually like getting signed up to this thing through their schools, and then they're actually like logging on the weekends and on holidays and stuff, and like doing exercises and workout plans in the product, and we can monitor that participation rate. And they're doing it outside of school, so it's actually kind of, it's working from the standpoint of it's infiltrating their lifestyle, right? Because it's tough. Like, it's not really like a pass or fail. Like a pass would be like you fall in love with exercise. Not really. Yeah. A pass isn't really you did 50 push-ups, because there might be somebody in your class that's never done a push-up before. So it's not really fair to compare them to somebody who's an athlete, right?
Yes.
You gotta. So the goal really is that like everybody falls in love with moving. You know, hopefully.
I think that's phenomenal. Okay, so I love what you do. How do you know these kids? I love it because I focus on mental health, emotional health, and it leads to being able to help you with the physical health. And a lot of people think like, oh, I'm working out, or oh, I'm eating right, and then they miss the meditation, or they meditate and they eat right, but they never do a push-up in their life. How do you get people excited about working out? How do you get people, you know what I mean? Like, I want to wake up and be like, all right, guys, we're going to do 100 push-ups together today. But there's that person who can only do 5. How do you get them excited?
I think, well, part of that is like talking about like the process of getting people excited about their health is really is assessing. So think of it like this: if let's say like a lot of our health is actually reactive, not proactive, right? So like I get sick, I go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you know, XYZ is wrong with you. Here you go. But think of it like this: like imagine, like I get sick, I go to the doctor, and the doctor doesn't like ask me what my symptoms are, doesn't maybe do any blood work or send me for, you know, an ultrasound or a X-ray, and just prescribes a bunch of stuff. Like, it wouldn't work, right? Like they have to assess you. They have to like get an understanding of where you're at so they can give you the proper stuff to heal you. So with physical health, it always starts with like an assessment. Like, you have to understand where you are today, so that the example of let's all do 100 push-ups, if we assess everybody before we set that goal, maybe the goal becomes, hey, team, today we're going to do 500, and I need you 3 to contribute 80, and I need you 3 to contribute 300, and I need you 2 to contribute fucking whatever was left of the 80. I need you 2 to contribute the 180 that's left over, right? So yeah, but you need to assess first to understand what's a reasonable goal to give to somebody, and that's really the trick to getting them attached to it forever, is because who likes to continue to do something that they set out to do that's good for them, but they feel like they failed at because they set a goal that wasn't appropriate. Right?
100%.
No one's gonna stick to that. They're gonna like, this sucks shit. I'm not gonna keep doing this. I failed.
But that's the thing. that's where a lot of people start, is they start with that mentality of, oh, I'm going to just fail at this anyways, or I'm going to go do it once, and they get tight muscles. How do you, like, I love how I'm drinking a ginger ale on a health talk. I was having like horrible headaches today, and I'm like, I need something that's not pop, that's pop, like just to help with that. I drink water all day and it wasn't going anywhere. I'm like, I look horrible drinking a ginger ale right now. I'm like, hey, pop. But like, how do you tell people, because this is for kids, this is for the physical education, but what about the adult aspect? Could you make this an adult program? And I'm not telling you to change your business. I'm asking in general I love the concept of it. Like if I brought you on my morning show and I said, hey, Callen, you and your buddy who is a hockey player, I hope he has all his teeth, but like if he's, oh, thank God. So you guys have to do 100 push-ups each. And then I get the moms that are at home, because I have a bunch of moms that are at home teaching from all over the world. I say all the moms have to do, and we have no assessment because there's too many people doing a certain thing. Do you think that would have the same enthusiasm, or is it because of it being a class with the teacher there, it becomes more of a competition? So it's like you 5 do 20 push-ups, you 5 do this many to get to this number, like we were just saying. How do you think you could connect that in other ways? And then have you seen it work with kids outside of that, where maybe they are getting their family involved?
I think the slope is slippery, right? Because when you put it in a competitive environment, you're going to lose the kids that are like on the edge, you know? And so, you know, it has to be like a self-reflection, like an assessment that's about where they are. And it has to be, the narrative has to be clear that it's only about them and setting the goal for them. You can then say, as a team or as a group, we're all going to do this goal. And you can say, I need you to contribute this many, because that's because you know they can achieve that when you put it on them, right? And then they know they're contributing to the overall goal for the group. But you're not asking them to do something they can't do. Right? So I think the competitive side of it gets wonky, right? Like our goal is, you know, to really, I mean, fast forward it. We have all these people that finish phys ed, you know, that are working professionals and such, that are, you know, have lost the ability to understand their health. And so our goal is to keep it in the education system and to get the education system equipped with the ability to give kids the tools to learn to take care of themselves at that point. Like we learn math, basic math, and get it, right? We learn how to read and write. We learn some geography. We learn a bunch of things in school that equip us to be successful, right? Like, and in phys ed, there's not an amazing amount. There's not a lot of tangible skills you can take outside of that, unless they're like team aspect, right? Like sport aspects. So sport's cool because it develops a lot of leadership skills and, you know, character and working in a group. And I mean, it develops some communication skills in an active environment. I think that stuff's great. But like, if you don't have 12 friends in a soccer field, or you don't have 10 friends in a basketball court, like what skills have we given kids to stay in control of their health, especially in a pandemic? Like sports was removed. So completely, right? Whereas if you learned how to work out, right, and you learned how to do yoga and meditate, like you could be quarantined in a hotel in China, and you could look for 2 weeks and you could completely come out fitter than you went in. And you don't need anybody. You can be alone. And so I think it's that piece that we're trying, like that we're focused on. And to answer your other question, like, can it adapt to adults? I think where we're focusing right now is like on the children to eventually change the effect on the adults. Because they're going to be adults, right? Like they're going to get there. So we've gone and said, okay, let's just focus all of our attention and energy right now and resources on this segment. And with the long-term goal there. And if there's companies out there that are doing great things for adults right now, then, you know, I mean, great. And it's conversations like you and I are having that maybe motivate somebody to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And they are an adult, right? They're just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
And actually, that's kind of, I was leaning in because your website, you're able to No One Left Behind, and this is for kids and all that. So they can actually go on, and after the teacher has signed them, the physical education teacher has signed them up,
yeah,
they can create their goals and they work with that. Now, how do they, through all of this, are they able to see that? Like they could be home and checking on this. They could be with their friends out at the park and be like, oh, I actually could get this done and want to be excited to work out type of thing. They can just look at it on their phone, just like anything else. Is that how you guys built this?
Yeah. They can just log in. They get like their own like ID, number to sign in, and then they can sign in. And there's like it's kind of cool actually. There's like they get a workout that's generated for them from the AI, like from the assessment, and then that workout's geared specifically to their physical capabilities, right? So they succeed, and then actually it learns from their behavior. So as they follow and do the workouts, it learns from the way that the students are giving feedback to the exercises, and it actually regresses the exercises so that they constantly are staying in it's called the Goldilocks Zone in kinesiology, but basically it's like RPE, rate of perceived exertion, between 5 and 6, which is where you kind of want people to be at, right? You want it to be so hard that they're like too sore and they could get hurt. You don't want it to be so easy that they, they're not being challenged. They're not getting any, metabolic stimulus from it at all, or no adaptation. So basically, the software is always looking to kind of keep them in that zone and progress them as they feel ready to progress, right? It's learning. So
that's incredible. That's awesome. Have you noticed anything with their grades? I only asked because I've done a program where we took the lowest of the low income that were not in sports in Cleveland. And we got them out exercising, but it was very short things. Like, so instead of running 10 miles or anything, they had to walk just around the school a couple times. And it just started to break down that barrier for, I can get exercise. But what was fascinating is we started to see their grade point averages for the kids that took it seriously even make a difference. Have you noticed anything with grades or even the connection to mind, body, soul? That you're seeing these kids be excited about it because they're actually growing and seeing the benefits of everything going on?
We haven't been able to quantify that yet, but we have a research project going right now
awesome.
to be able to pull in a mental health and well-being aspect based off of the way that they're engaging. So that's in R&D right now, and I hope we have something ready to at least pilot by January. But we're going in that direction, right? Pull the whole piece in so that they realize, holy geez, like when I first started doing these exercise programs or follow this routine, I first started following it. Generally I felt fatigued when I woke up, and over the last 3 weeks I haven't, right? So we're trying to pull that mental kind of step back and how am I feeling and thinking piece. We're going to pull that into the platform in the new year.
It's a newer program. I know you guys have been launching it and you're watching it grow. You're seeing it develop in 3 different countries and all that, but it's so unique. I love where you're going because I can see colleges being interested in this, hitting those areas and that. And I love that you're ahead of the game on that. You're hitting an area that's already above the curve and all that. With that, can we go back a step to the Special Olympics? Sure. I just have to. That's my specialty. That's what I love. I love the Special Olympics. I've done it for years. I sound like I competed. I fed the Special Olympics for years. Yeah. I was a chef. What got you into helping the Special Olympics? And I got my next question. Go ahead. What got you into the Special Olympics?
It was a staff. I'd hired a strength conditioning coach to work for my company, and he started with me, and then after he started, he said, hey, by the way, I can't work Thursday nights after he'd already got hired. And I was I was kind of put off, right? I was like, what do you mean you can't work Thursday nights? And he's like, well, I volunteer with Special Olympics. And I was like, you do? he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that in the interview? Right? Like, I think that's great. And he's like, well, I was nervous that I'd have to give up a night of work and whatever. So I'm like, no, it's awesome. So at that time, he was volunteering with Special Olympics, and they were at the YMCA downtown Sudbury. And he went to do it like 2 weeks in a row. And then he was in an email fight with the coordinator one time in the office about stuff they had to do. And people were complaining about some of the Special Olympics athletes making too much noise and stuff. And I'm like, dude, just bring him here. Like, just bring him to the university. I'll tell the university we're just going to have him here. And we had a varsity strength conditioning room, right, for the sports teams. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just pull a heavy. I'll just book the varsity strength conditioning room, and we'll train them in there like they're pro athletes. Like, don't worry about it. So I talked to the university, and I'm like, listen, this is what we're going to do. And they were like, okay, kind of, right? They were a bit nervous about risk and stuff. And I'm like, it's don't worry about it. It's great. Like, don't worry about it. So that's how I got involved. And then when I got involved, I went to help one night. As soon as they came the first night, I went to help. And now, like, whatever, it's been like 8 years later. And
I love that.
I'm still coaching. We just actually started back up. So I coach the powerlifting team for Special Olympics.
Yeah.
So, and we just actually literally started back up. Last Sunday was our first night in like a year and a half because of COVID. And they were so excited. Oh my God. The rules are so funny, right? Like, they're like, I got to go through all these hoops. Like, and I, because of COVID, I had to leave the university. So, because the university closed down, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to close down. Like, because I actually owned the company that operated inside the university.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to leave. So I left, and I opened up my own, like, high performance training center in Sudbury. Which is where I'm sitting right now. On the other side of that window, there's a gym and people working out and stuff and turf and everything. So this is, so if you hear anything, sorry. But so, I'm like, so I go through all these hoops, and I'm like donating the time and everything, right? And I'm going through all this stuff with Special Olympics. Like, I'm going to wear a face shield and masks and gloves and everything, right? And I get it. Like, it's fine. I understand. I don't have any judgments on that stuff. Whether you're on this side of the fence of COVID or that side, it doesn't matter to me, right? Whatever.
Nope.
So I'm like, okay. So I go through all of this rigmarole and no contact and everything, right? First day, open up the door. Danny walks in. Boom, huge hug, right?
Right.
I'm like, fuck it, right? Like, what?
Yes,
like,
right.
Like, just, I can't stop these guys. Like, it's been a year and a half of them.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, forget it, whatever. Like, so.
I love that. I love that though, because they don't. It's not even that they don't understand. It's they're tired of it. They want that connection. But the fun thing about that is, I love the powerlifting. I've seen the powerlifting done with the Special Olympics for years. I've been a part of the Columbus one. So it's funny that your buddy's in Columbus. I go to the volunteer at the Special Olympics every summer. So I specifically make sure I have the time slot off for the powerlifting because I've never seen a competition like this. The athletes encourage each other in a way that's so amazing. Like, it just blew my mind watching this guy. He's getting the weight up, and I'm not a power lifter, but I know, and like, you get it up, and he got stuck. And you heard all the athletes encouraging him. You got it, come on. And they are just so in love with wanting to see their friend succeed. Yeah. I was sitting in the back, and the parents are all pulling out cell phones, recording all of these kids cheering their friends on, cheering these athletes on. So I say that to say, with the difference between an Olympic gold medal, even though it was a coach, and a Special Olympics gold medal, was there a difference in how you felt winning that medal?
That's a cool question.
I was literally, that's why I had to stop myself before diving in on the other one, is I was like, I thought of it and was like, there's a way to ask this. I want to make sure he, like, and I don't mean to spot that on you like that. I just think that it's such a different energy. Like, could you even, if you can't answer it like that, could you explain the difference in the feel of the competition in the gold medal to the competition in the Special Olympics gold medal?
Honestly, there isn't. Like, it's the same because, like high-end athletics is weird, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone at that level is trying as hard as they can. So it's relative, right? Like it doesn't really matter. So I find like, I think when I think back to, so my Olympic gold medals for Special Olympics, I've got 9 of them for powerlifting. And majority of those are from one athlete, actually, Jose Seguin. And that was in Abu Dhabi. That was in Dubai. She went to Worlds and actually got 9 golds, or 8 golds, and I got another gold with another athlete. But she got 8 golds at in Abu Dhabi in 2000, and the year before COVID. And I got to tell you, like training up to that event, and like, you know, as hard as she trained and the sacrifices she made and everything, like there isn't any difference between what she's doing and accomplishing than there is between, like, you know, an Olympian that we see in the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics. It's the same. And the feeling is kind of, I mean, the feeling for me was just as awesome on both sides. I don't really know if I can separate them in a way where they would be different. You know, I think they're just exactly the same. You know,
I love that. I love it. Hey, so give us an inspirational story, because you've been in places. I'm baiting you on that one. Give us or you could tell us a story of your first Browns game and how you're the lucky charm for the Browns.
Oh my God. So that's kind of nuts. So I was just telling Brandon, for all the listeners, before we came on, I'm like, I've actually been to Columbus twice. Like once, my wife and I were driving, Cleveland twice. Once we were driving to Columbus to visit Nick, and we stopped there to go to this diner that my wife had seen on some cooking show. And so we went there and had food, which was great, actually. And then a second time, there was 4 buddies and I, we rented an RV and we drove down, actually November 10th, to see a Browns game. And we also went to a high school football game too while we were down there. Havergale, maybe? I think it was called Havergale. And anyways, we go down there and
I'm trying to think what that may be.
Yeah. And so anyways, we go to this Browns game, and it turns out to be the first game they had won in like 2 seasons or something. Like, and they're on the Buffalo Bills, and it was bananas. Like, and some guy climbed up on our RV, and we rented like a big RV, like not a small one, like it was a bus. This guy climbs up the top of it and jumps off and like goes flying through these tables, and like it was unbelievable. But I had so much fun, like just a great bunch of people. Never a feeling of anything like ever other than just warmth and like just a bunch of people that just want to have a ton of fun with me. I ate so much food, like every trailer or bus I went by, like just people like, come here, have some food. And like, you know, then I start talking, like, where are you from? And I'm from Northern Ontario. And like, oh my God, you're from Northern Ontario? Here, have a beer, have a sausage. Like just the wickedest, awesome. It's just the wickedest time. So, but it was a lot of fun. And we stayed, which now I've realized is crazy. We slept in the RV in a place called the Steel Yards in a Walmart parking lot. And because we were saving money. I don't know why, but whatever.
No, I get it. You have a trailer. Why would you need to get a hotel room and all that?
And it's a big bus, right? Like, what do we need? Right. We need a hotel. We just sleep. We sleep in the bus. So, and this big, beautiful bus. So we slept in the bus the night before the game because we wanted to get into a lot early. So we didn't want to drive from the outskirts of Columbus or Cleveland to downtown, you know what I mean? First thing. So we wanted to get as close to the arena as we could. And that was the only Walmart we could find that was pretty close, that would let us stay. So they let us stay in the parking lot. And then in the morning, we got up at like 5, and then we drove down, waited in line. It wasn't that long. We met this guy named Stinky in the lineup. He was great. He had this.
You know Stinky?
Yeah.
I know Stinky.
Okay. So
I'm just kidding. It's just the name. Like, how do you not, like if somebody's name is Stinky, you'd remember them, you know?
Right. Yeah. So, and then ended up being friends with him, and it was great. Like, it's just a super great time and lots of fun. But that's my 2 Cleveland, Ohio stories. That's it. And I've been a Browns fan ever since. Honestly, I follow the Browns ever since because it was just such a neat, I don't know, just for my first NFL football game, that was my first NFL football game. And it was just kind of like, I kind of just fell in love with the concept of it. I just got hooked and they won. And so it was a big hoopla, right? So I kind of got hooked. So I've been following them ever since and it's been great.
So without me going on a Browns thing, it's the largest fan base in the entire world. It has more Browns backers. You can go anywhere in the world, for real, any major city, and then you can download. What's that?
Yeah, you find a Browns fan.
Yeah, well, they have a Browns backers bar. So, like, you could be in Rome and literally be like, where can I watch the Browns game? And it will have a bar somewhere around Rome for you to be able to go that's sponsored by the Cleveland Browns as a Browns backers bar because people go to it that much. Like, in San Francisco, there's 6 of them. And I'm like, why do they need that many in a city like that? That's hilarious. You know, they have the 49ers. It's crazy. The fan base is rabid, and it's a lot of fun, though. It's a good time, and I'm glad you had a lot of fun. But I want to go back to your website. So with everything you're doing, you've had a business that you've had 3. One's doing great. Another one is doing phenomenal, it sounds like, you and your buddy Nick. How can the Delight Cafe Network be able to help you guys keep expanding and growing and doing what you're doing and show? Obviously, support is like go hit your follow button and go do the Facebook thing. But what else can we do? How can we be able to connect with you and have our audience be able to know they're helping you spread a positive message around the world?
Well, that's kind of the reason why I reached out. I think we're kind of doing it. Like, I think just by listening and sharing the story and like bringing like the authenticity to what we're doing by just talking, right? Like, I don't know how many people that you're going to have watching this that might have a sister, an uncle, or a friend that's a phys ed teacher and might say, hey, listen, I just saw this guy on the Light Show. He was great. He was fun. And I'm hoping that you can see that I'm a genuine person and I'm in this for the right reasons. And I think that's important to a story, right? Like, I think that's an important piece. And on the internet, it's hard to really know that, right? Like, anyone can put a web page up or put whatever up, and you don't really know who's behind the scenes. And you can do your about us and write it, the best you can. But there's nothing better than just getting out and getting to know people and letting people get to know you, right?
Mm.
So what really your crew can do is just like, I'm grateful for them to just be here and listen to me. And then from there, share away, share with your friends, share whatever, like, and just in stories, right? Like, just stories.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that something I've connected, somehow I've connected and we've had a laugh, right? And something I said, you resonated with. I think that's a big piece. Like, I think I'm fortunate to come from probably like where a lot of people come from, as opposed to like, the 1%. And that's relatable, right? Like so I want to connect and relate and get it out there. That's it.
So this is going to be the fun conversation part. All right. The rest of it, you were being grilled. All right. Sure. So how do you determine that you've been a success so far in life? And then what keeps you going?
I think what like determines whether I've been a success so far in life right now is like I measure off of the people I'm around. So, are the people that are around me, like, are they getting better? Are their lives improving? Like, that's to me like where I get it from. I don't really have like a self piece, like a number on the wall somewhere or whatever. Like, to me, it's more about like, okay, is everyone around me doing great right now? Because if they're doing great, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm doing well, everyone's doing great. So that's kind of my checks and balance, as to what. And the second part was, sorry, what was the second part again?
the second part was with how will you? I'm going to change it. How do you know that you're leaving your impact on the world?
Well, I guess that when people think about how will I know I have my impact on the world, because when people think about me, they got like a smile on their face.
That's my favorite I've had so far. And I do a lot of these because everybody usually has like, oh, that my company does well. Oh, that my company is able to do this. Oh, my book does well. Whatever it may be. And you're just genuine. You're like, no, I want people that when they say my name have a smile on their face. That's so awesome. Like, all right. So the way we end every episode, okay, because we're coming up to the last few minutes and all that,
For sure.
is we speak positivity out to everybody. So we give an inspirational word. You could say, hey, my favorite quote from Gandhi is whatever, go be the change you want to see in the world. Stuff like that. Like, you could do that. I will go first so you see an example of it, and it gives you a second to think. And I'm even going to single my face out.
Take it.
And that way you get a chance to think. And if you want to cheat and Google something, I'll be on the screen for a second to help you out. All right?
Okay.
All right. So guys, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. No, honestly, I always go first because I want you to feel comfortable. Okay. And you deserve a minute to actually think, because knowing you want to say something nice is hard. It's like you can always be nice to somebody, but saying something inspirational doesn't just flow always, Yeah. Awesome. All right. So, guys, what a great episode. Callen is doing amazing things. He's helping kids be able to better themselves. He's inspiring them to be able to do more. He looks inside and saw, like, hey, if everybody else around me is doing good, I must be doing well. And that is something that a lot of leaders don't take into consideration. So with Callen coming on today, he could easily brag about his gold medals, even though he was a coach. He could still brag about them. I don't have any. He could brag about what he's been doing with other areas and having hockey player friends and all that. Or he could take the time to see that his impact on the world is what he's doing is making that big difference, one person at a time. And that's all of us are doing. So today I learned from Callen what an amazing way it is to just show up daily and know that if everybody around you is still smiling and they're doing good themselves, you're doing something right as the leader. I'm so grateful we got to have someone like him on today, and he's welcome back anytime to play with us, work us out, or even just yell at me because maybe I ate too many sweets, okay? At the end of the day, thank you, Callen, for coming on. You're doing amazing things, and don't ever change, because people like you are changing the world. Thank you for that, buddy.
Wow. How do you do after that?
I just complimented you.
What has every other guest ever done? Just faint?
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry.
Wow. Like, there it is. So I guess if I was going to leave everybody with something positive, I can say that, it's okay to be afraid to do what you think is right. But, it's not okay to just not do it. So, and whether that's something that has to do with like a thought you've been having about your own behavior and something that you don't like, it's hard, but it's okay to like acknowledge that you don't like it. Or whether that's something to do with your environment that you're in, that there's something that you see that you just feel uncomfortable with and you're scared, It's okay. It's okay, but it's not okay to not change it. So, just if you just sense it, just be calm and just make the changes. And if we can all just do that, we can have a pretty rocking and rolling awesome time here on planet Earth.
100%. Yes. Well said. I love it. So, guys, I'm going to share the website one more time. It's Rep Performance is not what it's supposed to be said. Rep Formance app. Say it so I don't wrap it up.
It's repperformanceapp.com, and it's all one word, but only one P in rep. So it's REPERFOR.
That's why I'm like, is it re-performance? Did I mess this up the whole time? And I was like, crap, I screwed that up. Guys, okay. Go get on there. There's Facebook, there's Instagram. Go give a like, a subscribe, a follow, do what you're supposed to do, and make sure to share this out there. Otherwise, it was just a great episode, and we all learned from Callen on our own. So, guys, Callen, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Please, buddy, just don't ever stop to say you want to stop by and say hi. You're always welcome to the Delight Cafe. All right, my friend?
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thanks, bud. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.